wiener, 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 wiener.
And welcome to episode 4, House of the Dragon, Chew the Fat, detailed discussion and review. It's not really a gut reaction anymore because these streams are quite long. That's the animated version of House of Dragon. We won't be watching that today. Let me bring in my panelists, Blue Collar and Northern Bastard.
Welcome, you beautiful bastards.
Wiener party, wiener party.
Don't worry, they're coming. The dragons have come.
Can't we hear more of that song? Why do you keep cutting it off after like 2 seconds?
Well, I gave it 6 seconds because I don't want you to get copyright claimed.
Yeah,
that's why I was getting worried. That's why I gave it a quick 5 seconds because you never know. YouTube is a funny place, Lance. You show 8 seconds and they block your damn video. Like,
yeah,
that's what I worry about.
I thought I sent Leroy the link already, but I was wondering where he was. But I guess I must have missed.
I mean, Leroy, so we could disagree on something.
I sent it to somebody else, maybe.
Northern English. Remember Northern English? We were doing.
We might get a random person coming on whose name begins with L. I might have sent it to somebody else on my.
Just bring some random person on the one seen it and see if they can fake their way through the stream. That'll be a laugh.
Here he is. Hey.
Here we go.
Hey, Lance, how you guys doing?
Well, next week, Lance, I'll try a good 20 seconds. We'll fill it out. You know.
Hey, I almost forgot about the podcast day. I'm putting the finishing touches on my novel.
Well, indeed, we know that you write a novel a week. So, but anyway, let's focus on episode 4 of House of Dragon. Oh man, I mean, there's lots to talk about. I'm going to do my usual quick run through. For those people that haven't seen it, there will be some spoilers. So obviously we're trying to avoid those. If you're watching the stream, please do a post about it. Hello, Keith. Good to see you. We normally have more people than this. I don't know why we've only got a couple of people watching, but maybe there are a lot of people that haven't seen it yet. So we are going to get into spoilers a little bit. But there weren't any wieners in this episode. But let's get into what happens. Okay, so we open. This episode, by the way, is written by Ryan Condal, of course, who is the main showrunner, and T. Mikkel. That strikes me as being a Danish name, but I don't know if it is. Directed by Alan Taylor. So we open with a dream sequence. In Harrenhal, Damon awakes from... we don't know if he's awake or not. Turns out it's a dream sequence, and he sees the princess talking to him from the throne, who he ends up beheading. And her beheaded head speaks to him and says, "You've received a raven." And he awakens from this dream. He's got blood on his hands, and the Lord of Harrenhal's come in and to tell him that there is, in fact, a raven that has arrived. Great to see this actress in the episode again, because I really do like her. We then have a meeting scene in the Harrenhal Council Hall, if you can call it that, with Sir Oscar Tully, who is the grandson of the Tully who is still living, barely. Damon suggests feathered pillow over his grandfather's head and speed along his inheritance, which is definitely one of my favorite lines of this episode.
That cracked me up as well. It was like, he's a shameless bastard, and I love it.
He is completely shameless. It was fantastic. You're a little used to me then. Meanwhile, we cut back to King's Landing, and Alicent is with her maester. It was nice to see the maester get a little scene with her on his own, and he has prepared a special tea for an unknown third party. But this is actually because Queen Alicent realizes that she's pregnant from Sir Criston, and she's planning on having the baby aborted. So this tea that she's going to drink is going to get rid of that baby, in case anyone didn't pick up on all of that.
I did.
We then cut to a conference at Dragonstone, where the council, as per normal, are disagreeing on the course of action and what they should do. Good to see you, Dan. It's a good scene. The prince, the actor Harry, his name's Harry Collette, finally gets some good dialogue in this episode. He gets to do some acting, and he was good. So we'll come back to him in a bit. But disagreeing over the course of action. The lords all argue. There's mention of a Lysini orgy. I don't know what it is, but I definitely want to go there. Corliss arrives. What has come of this council, he says. And there's, further debate over what they're going to do. And all the news is bad. We cut to the battlefield of Duskendale Castle. Here it is, which has fallen on the coast. Basically those who've been defeated in the battle, who won't swear allegiance to the king, are being put to death by Sir Christian and his men. This king, I thought this lord, he's a lord, sorry, thought this was great. You're not fit to wear the white cloak. Great line. Before his life is taken. We then cut back to another council meeting at King's Landing. Damon has taken Harrenhal. Clubfoot, who's the actual owner, Lord Larys, seems unperturbed by this. Strategy is discussed. The king is annoyed because he feels he's being left out and not really consulted. Him and his brother then begin to argue. They speak in their own tongue, and his brother reveals other strategies are underway. And unless he's got anything better to suggest to the council, they're going to be attacking Rook's Rest, which is a small castle of little strategic importance, but it will mean that Dragonstone is essentially cut off via the land, because they don't have a land army, so to speak, at the moment. We cut to a scene with Alicent, who is called upon by Lord Larys, the Clubfoot. And there's a really interesting conversation here where he is basically fishing with the largest fishing rod possible for information about what's going on with her. I think he suspects that she's done something. I don't think he knows specifically, but there's some really great dialogue in this scene. He says it's a sin to deny your appetites. Sir Christian's on a dangerous road, etc., etc. The right of succession is briefly discussed. We cut back to Damon at Harrenhal. Is this a dream? He ends up in a kitchen with a witch where he's given a drink. And the witch seems to know everything about him and everything that's going to happen. The next thing we know, he wakes up at a council meeting and he seems drugged. He's talking to Sir Willem Blackwood of House Blackwood. And then he sees one of the princesses, the Targaryen princesses, pouring the drink for him. But the next moment, it's a servant girl. A lot of strange shit's going on. What has he been smoking? We don't know. So we then cut back to... We'll get into it. Let me just get through this. Okay, we cut back to the council meeting at King's Landing. King says, "You'll bore me." And he storms out of the meeting. He goes to see Alicent, and we discover that he's had the sacred books removed from her chamber, the histories, as it were. Good to see you, Zed. Thanks for joining the stream, buddy. We're only just starting, so you can fire a super chat now if you want. That's an interesting scene, because Alicent and her son kind of have a verbal showdown, and she basically talks down to him and talks of the sacrifices they've made to get him into that throne. What would you have me do? He cries. Do simply what is needed of you. Nothing. She's going to regret saying that. We cut to the forest by Rook's Rest. Sir Christian's army has arrived. Sir Gawain Hightower argues with Sir Christian that they shouldn't attack at daylight, but Sir Christian has other plans, so he insists that they do. Back at Dragonstone, Queen Rhaenyra finally returns. Prince Jace gets a really decent scene here. Again, actor Harry Collett showing his stuff, where they talk about the course of action. It was great to see this kid actually get some meaty dialogue, because he really made the most of it. The Queen says there's only one choice that remains. I either claim the throne or I die. And the Queen is going to lead the attack, but the Prince protests. Can't take a dragon out with the Queen on it. If the Queen dies, their cause is lost. So Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen insists on going. In fact, she tells the Queen she's going and doesn't really give her much of a choice. We cut to King's Landing. The king, after much drinking, decides he too is taking action. Meanwhile, back at Dragonstone, the Queen tells Prince Jace of the Song of Ice and Fire, which cuts to the various dragon riders preparing their beasts to go into battle. We then cut to the siege of Rook's Rest. It's all underway. Arrows are flying everywhere. Battering rams are approaching the castle. At which point, A dragon is sighted. So Christian says, make the signal. At this point, Admiral Akbar goes, it's a trap. And the dragon is covered in camo net, hiding in the forest. So it's all a trap to lure the dragon out. The king then, unfortunately, which hadn't been predicted, arrives on Sunfire. But Sir Christian uses this to rally his men using the king's arrival. So Damon then arrives while the two dragons are fighting, the kings and Princess Rhaenyra. Unfortunately, Damon burns the dragon of the king, and the king goes down into the forest.
Aemon, Lance.
Yeah, King Aemon. Yeah, Ergon is attacked but survives, squashing many men in the process. The battlefield is devastated. Princess thinks that Ergon's gone, but then is attacked from below and kills the princess's dragon in a really crushing scene where the life of it sort of goes out before her eyes. It crashes down into the castle. We've got two fade to blacks. It's like Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. This episode, there's two fade to blacks where you think the episode is over and it's going to cut to titles, and it doesn't. So we have the second fade to black. So Christian, who was injured in the battle, he kind of wakes from being unconscious. He searches for the king because he saw him go down into the forest. Touches this man to ask for his help, and it's just a burned corpse. He walks past a horse, which he ignores, which is weird because I thought he would get on a horse to go look for the king, be a bit faster. And then he reaches the devastated body of the dragon, still kind of smoldering in the woods, as Damon is standing above it with his sword drawn. And then he sheaths his sword, and they go to look at the king, and we kind of hear some gurgling. And either the king is alive but brutally injured and probably horribly disfigured, or he's dead. We don't know, because at that point it cuts to titles. What we do know is that Princess Rhaenyra is unlikely to have survived her fall when her dragon's head got bitten off. So it's all to play for in this. I've missed out a few details, but there we go. That's the summary of the episode. Oh my god! So what an amazing episode. Let's talk about this aspect first.
You might be half the king your father was.
Tread carefully.
I'll watch.
So quite a lot happens. We potentially lose two main characters. So in true Game of Thrones style, no one is safe. Two people have potentially died. I think one definitely. What I really like about this episode, apart from the fact that it keeps showing you that no one is safe, is that all of the characters are constantly arguing. Neither of the councils are, they're not working cohesively. They're always arguing. Everybody's got their own different agendas going on. So it's all, it's just a really interesting melting pot. Everything that is set up in episodes 1, 2, and 3, that there's massive payoff here, and that made that wait for kind of the action that we're seeing in this episode. It made it totally worth it. So Northern, I'll go to you first because I sense Blue is still fiddling with knobs and things in the background. What did you think of the story and world building of this episode?
Well, it is actually starting to pick up a little bit more because we've had a lot of heavy dialogue in the last couple of episodes, and after all that, we really need to see things moving up a little bit more. We're starting to see the stakes raising a little bit here as well, and it definitely does that. And we do see a little bit more of these other kingdoms. I can't remember if they were already established in the original Game of Thrones. It's been a long time, but we are seeing a bit more of them, and the fact that they're easily getting taken over by Aegon as well is really seeing his army expand out a lot more now, and he's really taking over. But at the same time, he's got much smarter people undermining him at every turn, and it's looking like it's not going to go well for him if he survives this ordeal.
Yeah, we'll come on to whether or not we think he's survived later. Don't want to do that bit now, but Was there anything else you picked up on story-wise?
Well, I don't know. Well, apart from it's looking like Aegon's having a lot of people going against him, including his own mother, because she's starting to realise that Viserys might actually be right about what she said in the last episode, and that she may have made a mistake and misinterpreted what Paddy, considering his character, said in the last series.
King Viserys.
Queen Viserys. Well, not Queen Viserys, Viserys, sorry.
Yeah, you're talking about King Viserys is the character you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, very good. Leroy, your thoughts on the story and world building?
2 words. Badass. That's all I gotta say. Badass.
If that's all you're gonna say, that's your quickest response ever, Leroy. I feel
no, that's not what I'm gonna say, but it was badass. I mean, so far best episode. I will say this is the only negative I have to say. I lost respect for Aegon because the only problem I have with him is that he went into battle drunk, cockeyed drunk. If he wasn't drunk, if he just basically flipped his mom off, put on the armor and went on the battlefield and he was sober, I wouldn't have a problem with that. But the fact that he was cockeyed drunk, I lost respect for him. I never really Alicent right now reminds me
we're coming on to the characters next. Focus more on the overall story for this episode. But what did you think? We'll do the characters next.
Once Rhaenys, basically, once she entered the battlefield, I had a hunch that she was going to die. I really had a hunch, so I really wasn't surprised.
Yeah, I have to admit, I think I felt her cards were marked as soon as she said she was going in instead, and you had the exchange, that look between her and Lord Corlys.
But I respected that, though. She went out like a G. She went out like a gangster. She took care of business, and she went out. The song that comes to my mind, who remembers Young Guns 2 and the soundtrack by Bon Jovi, Blaze of Glory? She went out in a blaze of glory. So I gotta respect that. Even though she's dead, I mean, the chances, I'll be surprised if she comes back, but at least she went out the way she needed to go out. I don't think Aegon's dead, mainly because I've heard, I don't want to say any spoilers, but I've heard things from the book that he lives. So that's all I'm going to say.
All right.
I don't want to do spoilers.
We'll see. Dan Candy says, did you guys pick up on Aegon not being fluent in High Valyrian? That's interesting. Oh, I didn't know.
It looks very unsure though when Aemond was talking to him in it. He looked a little bit confused.
I said that's interesting. I love this armor, but we'll talk about that when we do that topic. There was, I mean, Blue, what do you make of the 2 dream sequences? Is this a witch we've met before? Is this a younger version of Melisandre?
No, I wouldn't take that.
For 1,000 years? Well, I mean,
I think that.
Was he really there? Is that a dream, or is that woman real? Is it all in his head? Is it the castle making him mad? Because that's what somebody says back at King's Landing. What is going on with these dream sequences?
Yeah. No, I think this isn't Melisandre because that's too much tying into Game of Thrones. I think they're trying to have a different cast of characters in this incarnation of the story. But no, I would say she's a witch, and for some reason, I'm not sure what she wants. She's messing with Daemon's head, definitely. I'm not sure why, but also, I mean, Melisandre had her own agenda in Game of Thrones. So it's still too early to tell what she wants, but she's definitely messing with him. That's why he's seen these dream sequences for.
Because it's said that he's going to die in Harrenhal. That's as far as we know.
Yeah.
So but
I do like him seeing. He keeps seeing Rhaenyra as younger because that's when he fell in love with her in a sense. When it's the Rhaenyra he cared about and like wanted. Like, that's my cousin. Now I was like, curious why he keeps seeing the younger actress. Like I like the younger actress, but why not the current Rhaenyra. And my cousin's like, because Rhaenyra now is who, remember, he wanted to be with the younger version, but he couldn't. And over time, he still loves her, but he loves the younger version of her more. Like that's the part he cared about.
That's a good perspective, actually. I hadn't thought of it that way. What do we think about our man here?
Aemon?
Yeah, he's getting better. I love the fact he's becoming a little bit more mean. About the same time, he's obviously smarter than Aegon. He's much more calm and collected.
Yeah,
I think he's also jealous of his brother.
Did he deliberately attack his brother, or was that an accident?
I think he did that on purpose.
He did.
I think he really did that on purpose.
He 100% saw because he could tell that Rhaenys' dragon was biting him and scratching him. So yeah, it's not like he didn't see those two fighting. He just didn't give a shit.
And in a way, I can understand. I mean, after all Aegon ever did to Aemon was basically humiliate him, especially in the last episode.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't like Aemon, but I can understand. I mean, maybe he'll be, maybe he could be a better. Assuming if Aegon didn't survive, maybe Aemon could be a better king. Who knows? I think he's jealous of his brother, and he's still a little PO'd from the humiliation from last episode. So, karma. It's plus,
I think
plus the fact that he's had this his little brother who's nowhere near as smart as he is and decisive as he is, and he's humiliating him in front of his woman. Yeah, that's really gonna send him over the edge a little bit. There, it's like I'm much more smarter, I'm much more tougher than this little square, and he's giving me shit. Of course, I'm going to take him out.
Interesting. Yeah, I think in his head, he didn't want to deviate from the plan. So I mean, he attacked them, but he attacked them both. Maybe it was a bonus in his head.
And Lance, I want to talk about Alicent for a minute since we're talking about characters. I thought her father was bad, but now one of the reasons I'm not liking her because, and I'm being very careful when I say this because I don't want to offend women. But manipulative.
Well, you're talking about a character in a show, so it's a fictional character.
Yeah,
so
but
I
have experience with manipulative women in power, and they tend to rub me the wrong way. And she kind of reminds me of that. And in fact, she reminds me of Gemma from Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, she's a horrible person, but the actress who plays her is really good. But I'm going off topic. Sorry about that.
Yeah. No. That's all right. Well,
so I'm really not liking Alicent at all.
As we're diving into that realm, let's get into this.
You're afraid, sir? Worse, I'm rational.
Yeah, let's talk about the characters and the cast in general.
Her brother impressed me because he said, I mean, he's not a coward. He's just being realistic. He's being honest. He said, look, when Sir Cole asked him, are you afraid? I'm worse than afraid. I'm being rational. I mean, attacking in broad daylight, that's stupid.
Yeah,
but,
I think
even though Sir Christian, I gotta admit, Sir Christian Cole's plan along with Aemon, that was pure genius right there. But
yeah, he's a good
costly.
Christian is a good strategy. Had
Aegon not arrived, I think the plan would have gone on well, but it still would have been costly because they both sides did lose a lot of men.
Yeah.
So it was a good plan, but it was a costly one. It's like a Pyrrhic victory.
Yeah, both sides lost dragons. One side potentially lost a king. Vhagar hiding behind the castle was super obvious, says Top Gun. This could be Tom Cruise in disguise. No one with any experience as a dragon rider should fall for that. Yeah, but he wasn't that far behind the castle. He was actually that dragon, and the big dragon is the name of the big dragon. Is that Vhagar? Is it?
Yes.
Yeah, Vhagar.
Yeah, so, he was actually she was hiding in the forest. We can't.
How a big dragon managed to slip by unnoticed. I mean, you'd notice that, wouldn't you?
No, I know what he did. What he did was he flew there at night so that people wouldn't see him. And he was in the forest some considerable distance away. It's a bit like, when they light the beacons in Lord of the Rings. There would have been a chain of those guys with trumpets. I know we only got shots of a couple of them, but there probably would have been 7 or 8 of them. The idea would have been he would have been nowhere near the castle. So he wasn't like just behind the castle. He was a considerable distance away. That's why they had the whole signal thing followed by a chain of trumpets, because he was a considerable distance away. So I don't accept that criticism. Appreciate the point though, T-Gun. But I think they illustrated that was doable. The longer Alicent plays politics, as Amy Frey, the more Cersei she becomes drawn to.
Ooh, I hate to me, Cersei's still the most hated villain in the entire Game of Thrones series, and she got off way too easy. I hated Cersei. Ooh, I just want to jump to the TV and strangle Cersei myself.
Well, while we've got these two up, I mean, funnily enough, if these two were working in total collusion and trust, they'd be formidable, because she's a good politician strategist. He's a good war strategist. So, that could be very effective. By the way, did people notice the camo netting on the dragon as well?
Yeah, I noticed that.
Had camo netting on it. When it swooped up at the end, I sorry, okay, mate, I didn't realize that's what you meant. That bit was a bit. I get that. Yeah, that's a valid point. That's a valid point. That's all right. You find that while I'll make this back up. We'll get into. Let's stick with the characters for the moment. Great performances from these two, for sure. We've got lots of shots of dragons on here. Freddie Fox only had a couple of lines in this episode, but he's kind of slipped into kind of self-entitled Hightower rather nicely. Good actor. And these two work really well together. This guy just, man, I can't wait for him to die a really horrible death.
Actually, what are you talking about?
Sorry.
Cole?
Let me this chap. I can't wait for him to Lord Larys. I can't. Of all the characters, I despise him the most actually at the moment, because he's like super manipulative, really creepy. Has probably got weird fetish tastes. You just know he's bad all round.
But at least he's honest about it. The one I despise more than him is Otto Hightower. Otto Hightower, I want to see wiped out completely.
Well, he's not around at the minute. He's back in his castle. He's left. He's going to come back though. I have no doubt about that. He will come back.
Well, the difference is Hightower actually does want. Is actually thinking about the kingdom more. Clubfoot is thinking about himself.
Yeah, Clubfoot's got his own agenda going on. Hightower's got a twisted moral compass, but he still believes that all his actions are for the realm. I don't think this guy has got his own agenda going on.
It's like picking the lesser of the warring evils.
Indeed, T-Gun. That's a very valid point. So just ask Quentin Tarantino.
I mean, maybe. Oh, let's see. I mean, that's a pretty big castle too. Plus, we don't know distance to the water. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, also, the dragon's got to be somewhere, hasn't it? And that open area is not that large. If you're seeing it from the sky, you can see all of it pretty easily.
After Rhaenys was injured and she turned around and was flying back, it was pretty low to the water, and then it just swoops way up. But it does show there's a pretty big distance between the top of the castle and the very end of the water. So I mean, it's like hundreds of feet. The thing could hide.
Yeah. Well, we saw that angle of the castle earlier when she actually kind of like swoops over the top of the wall at one point, and you can see the distance between it and the cliff face and all of that. I mean, it's possible it could have hid there, but Yeah, but hey, that's not a major grievance.
Me right there. I mean,
me.
look at the difference. Look at how big that's a mountain is compared to the water.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
can
hard
see
for.
how Vagar could hide.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's not that hard for a dragon, even his size, to hide in that kind of spot down there. You know.
Yeah. I knew it. So this whole battle sequence, by the way, when I saw the men emerging from the trees, if you want to go back, Blue, to the actual shot of the battle beginning, straight away I knew exactly there. Thank you, that'll do. And straight away I knew exactly where that was filmed. Right, if you look at that tree line, does that look familiar to anyone from any other movie? Think of a big battle sequence with people emerging from woods.
I have to say Gladiator.
That's exactly it. It's the same woods as Gladiator, also used in Robin Hood. It's Bourne Wood in Surrey. And it's been used in so many films.
Wow.
And they're always like replanting different sections of it as well. So yeah, that's exactly where it was filmed. In Bourne Wood in Surrey. And I just, as soon as I saw it, I was like, I know those trees. Yeah, straight away thought, yeah, that's it. So, and actually, here is some sneaky footage that somebody took. Hold on, I'll show you. Let's just take that down for a second. Here is some sneaky footage that someone took of this whole sequence being shot. Look. So that there they are. It's a bit grainy. So obviously security weren't doing a very good job this day, but somebody managed to sneak onto the set and was filming behind the scenes, all this stuff going on. This is on Twitter or X, if you must call it that. So I think they just got called to go into first positions, and now they're resetting for another shot. So everyone's going back again. There you go. The tedium and boredom of actual filmmaking. This is how exciting it is to do it on set. Exciting it is not. It is exciting when it all comes together and you see the final thing. But yeah, Napoleon, I think they shot some scenes of that there. You might be right. So yeah. Let's talk about the other characters. This guy we met at the council meetings before, and it's set up that he went to defend his lands personally. The Crown lands, by the way, are the immediate kingdoms that surround King's Landing. So they're all like sort of little fiefdoms. Usually many of them are owned by people that sit on the High Council, because they all need to be people that are located close to King's Landing by virtue of attending the meetings. So that's why this guy was normally on the council but went to defend his castle. I do like sieges. Always liked sieges as a kid. So yeah, he's a good actor. Like this guy. Who would we give top pundits for the acting in this episode, do you reckon?
Aemon.
The king?
No, his brother Aemon, the one with one eye, who wrote Vagar.
Oh, the eye patch. Okay.
Yeah, I'd say his acting's good, probably top notch, because he's just showing like no emotion.
No, he is good. I don't know that he takes the episode for me. He is good, but for me, probably not him. Northern, who for you?
I actually was going to say Aemon, because yeah, he has got a little bit of Damon in him as well, in a way.
Right. Blue?
I'll go with Aegon, actually, just because he is, he's still not a great king. He's very, I'm trying to think, undisciplined, and he's making mistakes. And like earlier, like Leroy said, he got drunk and did something stupid. But remember, he wasn't raised to be a king, because his sister Rhaenyra was raised to be a queen, and he's making a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, but are you talking? I'm asking who was your favorite performance in the episode, not your favorite character.
Well, I'd say Aegon then, just because he's It said his whole character development he's going through right now. He's, basically his mother puts him in check. Like, yeah, you need to just shut up and listen.
I'm going to agree with Amy Fry on this one. Eve Best, for me, steals this episode. It's a toss-up between her, Harry, and the actor who plays Fabian Frankel, who plays Sir Kristen. They all get to do really interesting things in the episode. But I think Eve Best probably takes it for me.
Yeah, I can agree with that too. I mean, the way she went out in the end.
That scene is really emotional. I also love the scene where she basically talks to the Queen and says, "I'm going," and that doesn't matter what the Queen says to her, she's going to go. She's going to go and take her dragon, and obviously it was the right decision, because if Queen Rhaenyra had gone, she'd be dead. So yeah. Does anybody else want to mention any other characters or actors in this episode in particular? Anyone? Bueller? Anyone?
Well, probably Matt Smith as well, because going back to the scene where he's telling that young prince, well, are you going to smother your granddad then so he can take over his army? Because
I really hate that.
That was great. That's a great scene.
I thought that was pretty. I thought that was pretty messed up when he said that. I mean, I probably
of course it is.
I probably would have stabbed him.
He says it with no fucking
me to smother my grandfather
whatsoever. Just makes it more evil. You can really see he's enjoying himself in the role, though. Just really,
he is.
That nastiness, that malice.
I find that him sort of going mad is less fun than him just being flippantly nasty. I like the kind of regular version of him, but now we're seeing that he's kind of, there's a sort of gradual descent of going into madness happening with his character. I
still think that, and this is what I want to see. I could be wrong. I want to see Daemon and Aemon die in the same fashion that we saw in the movie The Northman, where the main good guy and the main villain basically killed each other. They went out fighting. That I want to see that happen between Daemon and Aemon and on their dragons. Basically, they end up killing each other in the end. That's what I want to see. I think that's going to happen too. I think that will happen.
That I agree. That's possible. Yeah. So some people shouted out Ewan Mitchell. He is very good. It's great that all of the characters are they're very contrasting. They're all very different. And I really, really like that. And yes, it's a haunted castle, apparently. We picked up on that. Yeah, I mean, all great actors. There's Sir Simon Russell Beale. The casting in this is incredible. We've not really seen Gail Rankin before, who played the witch. Anyone want to say anything about her?
No, she looks very familiar, though. Just trying to guess what she's out of, but yeah, she's got a nice little bit of mystery about her, though.
She was in TV series Glow. That's what I've seen her in. She's actually from Scotland. She was in The Greatest Showman. She played Queen Victoria. Sheila the She-Wolf in Glow. That's the film about the women's wrestling.
That was yeah. I didn't know she was Scottish, though.
No, I didn't think she was Scottish. I actually thought when I saw her in Glow, I thought she was American. And that was her big breakout role. She did small roles in 3 or 4 films before that, and then 7 episodes of Kindred, TV miniseries, 10 episodes of Perry Mason, and then House of Dragon. So she was in a film called Bad Things as well, which I haven't seen. But yeah, I think she's good. She's got presence, so it'd be interesting to see if we get to see more of her. Certainly be good if we did. Yeah, fantastic. There she is again. I do like Matthew Needham in this role as well, because he just makes you want to hate him, and that's a good skill when an actor can do that. Smoke Dreamer. she played a red woman in Game of Thrones. Not according to her IMDb, she didn't. Unless she was an extra, which I wouldn't have thought so. Let me have a look. Unless I got that wrong. Let me just double check that. No, that's not on her. That's not on her. Her first credit was Law and Order Special Victims Unit, and she did a few bits and pieces in America. Yeah, and the first big role she had was in The Great Showman. So, I don't think so. No, that's a different actress. That's a different actress. The one that went to see Daenerys. That's not the same actress. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's move on to a different topic, because this is very much a focus of this episode. That's the wrong intro. Can't use that one. Let's use this one.
The horrors I have just loosed.
Yeah, visual effects and production design. Let's take them each in turn. Physical production design, actual props, costumes, etc. Dealing with that first, and I've got this still up for a reason. I mean, look at this.
I thought
armor.
they were good,
but look at the detail of design in this armor. It's not just his armor, but the horse. See, it all matches. The shades, the color match. He matches with his cloak. I mean, this is just incredible work. Incredible work.
I bet this armor cost a lot less than the armor in Rings of Power as well. I'm guessing.
I mean, that stuff looks like it was bought from like bargain basement somewhere, and it doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't feel Lord of the Rings a lot of the time. I want to see who the costume designer is on that. So while I'm searching for that, Blue, anything you want to say about the physical production design? We'll get onto the visual effects in a moment.
Oh, okay. Physical. Yeah, I mean, like you're saying with the forest, the battle sequence, man, just every single person's dressed a certain way. They got their spears, they're shooting the bows. It feels just that battle sequence was just so authentic.
Yeah, I have to agree. The costume design is Caroline McCall does the costume design. Production design is Jim Clay, and then you've got several art directors that work on the show: Clara Gomez DeMoral, Richard Hardy, Angela Marin, Celine McDowell, and Nick Wilkinson, who is the senior art director. So pretty good team there, because these people really have done a good job. Nick Wilkinson worked on 13 episodes of the original Game of Thrones. He also did Bodies, a TV series with Stephen Graham, and I mean, quite a few other things. 12 episodes of Peaky Blinders, 9 episodes of Beowulf, Return to the Shieldlands. I've not seen that, but clearly a man who's quite experienced. Caroline McCall has, we talked about her before. I remember saying she worked on His Dark Materials and Downton Abbey. I mean, I just think that this stuff is incredible. It's really, you can see where the money's gone here. It's on screen, these two guys. And I like the way, look at the contrast between the two of them as well. The different style of helmets, slightly different style. He's the green tunic underneath there. And so on. There's a lot of detail, a lot of thoughts gone into this kind of stuff, and it really, really shows. Then there's also, when you've got the interiors of King's Landing, there's a lot of attention to detail to make it match up to the previous King's Landing sets, but also to take it back in time slightly. So I really like that. Space Ghost, welcome to the stream. Not seen you in the chat before. I love that. I love that emblem. That's very kind of.
It's a good question.
I feel like you might be spying on me through the window with an emblem like that. It looks great.
It looks very Batman the animated series as well. I like it.
Yeah. Is Lady Rivers the three-eyed raven or just some random wood witch? That's a good question. What are your thoughts, Northern?
I think she's. I have no idea, to be honest. I can't really answer that, but she's definitely one to look out for, though.
Yeah. Leroy, you got any thoughts on that?
I really don't care.
Lady Rivers, the three-eyed raven.
Nah,
if I was more versed in the books, I probably might have a bit of a clue. But I have not read the book, so I cannot say.
Yeah, I remember the three-eyed. I know Brandon was a three-eyed raven in Game of Thrones.
Well, he ultimately became it. Yeah.
Yeah, true. But I never really, like I said, I never really cared about the supernatural part of this story because I never read the books. But like I said, I love this show better than Game of Thrones. As far as the special effects goes, I thought this episode the special effects were on point, especially when Aemon shows up in the forest hiding Vhagar. I thought that was as far as special effects goes, I thought that was the best. Period.
Yeah, like you're saying, Lance, right there, just the detail. You guys had to take all those wooden stakes out and build all that. Like that's a set, man. They had to build.
Yeah, I mean, this might be the only bit where the CGI looks a little bit obvious. Back a little.
Well, there's a bit of they've basically multiplied the army. You've probably got 200 extras. Yeah. And they've made it look like sort of 2,000 to 4,000 or whatever. But I think it looks fine. I mean, the army as well looks like an army. You can see how many people there were in the shot that I showed you behind the scenes. Obviously, there's a load of CG in that shot.
Yeah.
Most of the people in that will be CG. But it looks good. Yeah, you don't really think about it. All this stuff with the arrows landing was all like really effective.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, the castle is completely CG. I don't think they built a castle set. They might have had a wall section, and the rest of it would have all been CG. Yeah. So they might have a wall to put like those archers on and whatnot. Well, that could have even been filmed in a studio. It's difficult to tell. The Witch Wife during War of the Roses. That's a great subject. Yeah, all right. Let's talk about the visual effects then. So, as Leroy was saying, the first shot of the dragon in the forest is very effective. The whole to sell this whole sequence, this aerial duel between three dragons, effectively, the effects have got to be completely on point, but also the actors have got to sell the effects to us as well. We've got to believe that this person is really riding a dragon and can really see the things that we can see on screen. And bringing all of those elements together and making them work is not always easy, but it really does work in this episode. I don't think anyone can. There was some people were early on saying there wasn't enough action in this show or whatever. If you just dive straight into action, it doesn't have meaning. The fact that we're so invested in all of these characters, even the characters that we don't particularly like, we're still interested in them. We still want to see what happens to them. We want to see what decisions they make because they're interesting. They've sold us. We're embracing their narrative. And the dragons are characters as well. Don't forget, and they're all slightly different. Well, not slightly, very different. The fact that the one that the princess is riding is a female dragon, and they have this kind of, you can see the bond that they have. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. This whole sequence is great. How many dragons are there left in the world, not including the eggs? There are 3 that have gone now. Was it? I think it was like 9 or 11 or something like that.
Well, now it's more like around 19 or 20. Lance, the problem is not all of them have riders. That's the issue. Right. So you do have something like, what was it? I remember last episode. Was it Rhaenyra's ex-husband who's still alive? It's flying around. It's still there. Yeah. Just its riders not there at the moment. So it's
yeah. Was that the one that was called Sea Smoke or something?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know there was that one, but when they talk of the dragons that each side has, that information has been given to us. I think it's mentioned in like episode 1 or 2, I forget, during one of the council meeting. We have so many dragons and ours are bigger or something like that. So I don't know if someone in chat will know, but that total number, whatever it was, is now down by 3 because 3 dragons have gone. So Smoke Dreamer is saying around 20 are alive, according to the But how many are combat ready? I guess is what I'm.
That's all. Yeah, that's probably. Remember, Rhaenyra gave the 2 baby dragons for the troops because they're alive, but they're so small that they're not combat ready.
Here's a question. I'll just stray off the topic of effects, but we won't end that there. Why is Daemon in that dream sequence when he then sort of it blurs into the scene with the council? Why does he see the princess? Is it Princess Baelor? It's one of the 2.
No, it's his late wife. It's his late wife.
Oh, it's his late wife. God, of course it is. Yeah.
She died in season 1. Remember? Yep.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that, even though I just recently watched season 1. There goes my memory again. I was thinking, I was totally confused. I thought, why is he seeing one of the princesses? But it doesn't quite look like either one. Who is this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking it as Daemon can be a dick, and we know that he's brash, but this is his conscience coming back to him. It's like he feels it's his guilt because like he loved her, but he still married her out of convenience because he always wanted to be with Rhaenyra. And of course, Rhaenyra, he doesn't want to be with the current Rhaenyra. He wants to be with the younger Rhaenyra, and that's this is his conscience kind of weighing on him.
Yeah, I buy all that for sure. Oh, that's my Facebook page. We don't want to go on there. Right. Sorry, someone was bing bonging me, so I naturally clicked on it. Anyway, so I mean, Dan has said he doesn't like seeing animals in pain, even in fictional dragons. Really good job on the CGI. I bought into them being real.
I agree there. I agree. I felt bad for the dragons getting fucking mauled to death. It's damn.
Wow, you guys are pitiful, man.
His late wife's dragon that Aemon used to kill his mother. Interesting. The Greens only have 2 fighting-sized dragons now and a crippled Sunfire. I think Sunfire is more than crippled. The Blacks have 4 big ones and access to a handful of dragons that currently don't have riders. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that information, Amy.
Pulled up that scene.
Dragon expert.
I got the scene Lance and HBO pulled up for you because that's my favorite shot in the whole episode. Like, I think for me, for my money, this is the best CGI I've ever seen for a dragon.
This was very good. But it's much. It's always easier to make things look more realistic in low light.
Yeah.
Look at the detail, all the scale.
No, it's great, isn't it?
Great.
Yeah. It's like, and even like you're saying, like when it breathes, you see like his hair is blowing back as it's breathing on him too. And like it nuzzles him. Like, I mean, they probably use a puppet or something, but regardless, man.
He's probably reacting to a green ball on a stick as well, So which is funny.
Yeah.
Because it looks like they've actually told him what to react to, because most actors always seem to complain that you're on the green screen, react. All right, what are we reacting to? Just do your fucking job and react.
Well, his hands right there are actually touching something, so it probably wasn't like a dummy or something, like where somebody was probably holding something for him to hold on to, and they digitize it over. But we said that just the detail of this dragon, like just, man, the scales, its nose, even her dragon as well. She's hugging.
Yeah, I like this scene. She's like, let's get ready, old girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because that whole sequence of them both getting ready, with their respective dragons, whilst the Queen is talking to the Prince about the Song of Ice and Fire, is a great sequence. It's really, really good. It ratchets up the tension. The King's about to do something rash. It's really, really interesting. Really good.
Yeah, that's I think, like, I wouldn't say a flaw, but Game of Thrones just had to focus on the 3 dragons. But honestly, at one point I couldn't tell them apart. They were so similar. In House of Dragon, everyone's dragon has different mannerisms, it has different builds, different colors. They all look active. Like, the dragons are as much as characters as the actors, and every dragon can tell which one.
They've really got their own personalities, haven't they?
Definitely.
In this show, which I really, really like that about it. Well, the visual effects team really do need to take a bow on this one, as does the DOP. It's PJ Dillon on this episode. Born in Ireland, previously shot 5 episodes of Game of Thrones. He's also done 31 episodes of Vikings, 6 episodes of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but we won't hold that against him. 4 episodes of Altered Carbon, which is a very, very underrated sci-fi series, which if you haven't seen it, you should.
I like that.
A bit of a travesty that it got cancelled, you know.
Yeah.
I liked things like the detail, like her riding saddle, and then she does that bit where she knows she's going to have to strap in for this bit, so she clips on the extra thing to keep her in place, like a safety seatbelt almost. Yeah, but it's great. It sort of all adds to the tension.
Because even though they made it look real, they still have to really make you feel like she's really on it. Like you got to feel like she's actually trying to, manage this big beast that she's on top of.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, we've got to see her struggle a little bit as well while doing it, and yeah.
Well, oftentimes with CG as well, sometimes you have 2 CG characters. Like this has been an issue with, say, monster movies, Godzilla versus Kong or something. They move too fast and quick, and you can't tell what the hell's going on. And this one, the dragons, like the one, her hitting the other dragon, you can see its claws dig into his chest, and as it's scraping down, you can hear it screaming. You can see the detail of like how its claws are ripping open his flesh and blood's coming out. Even like Vagar, when Vagar was blowing fire in his mouth open, you see like the little tendrils on his mouth, like where the fire breath comes out. It's just so much detail to these creatures, and especially, and Lance, you know this, digital shots during the daytime are not easy to do.
No, they're not. They're not. The technology would not have been around to do this 10 years ago to this standard. It would have been okay, but not quite to the standard that you're getting here. I mean, this is really top of the game stuff. And again, the visual effects supervisor, there's a big visual effects team on this show. You've got a visual effects supervisor for Spain, who is Juan Ramon Molina, but he wouldn't have been in charge of this. Special effects supervisor, I imagine, for this shoot. That's more pyrotechnics, which would have been Michael Dawson. So we want the visual effects supervisor. Alan Marks will be cursing me from his grave if I make that mistake on a live stream. My God, there's so many credits on IMDb. That's right, because we talked about this last week. There are 2 main companies that do the visual effects, and Pixamondo is the company that does most of them. They do most of the compositing, CGI, 3D builds, and so on. And then Weta does some modeling and a few other little things, but it's mainly Pixamondo. Who are the team behind these wonderful effects in this show. And there are so many people credited for being on Pixamondo, and I'm trying to pluck out the visual effects. VFX supervisor, no, that's Nathan Overstrom is the one for Zoic Studios, but that's a different team. I mean, there's so many people on here. It would take me forever to read out the list of all these names, but the whole team should take a bow. Incredible stuff. It might be Daddy D-A-D-I, so Daddy Aronson, which would be a Scandinavian name, probably Danish or Swedish. He did the visual effects on Everest. Great film, that, and the effects work on that film is absolutely first class. You wouldn't believe where some of it was filmed. He also did 2 Guns. Some visual effects on Boardwalk Empire, a couple of other things. So yeah, I mean, absolutely incredible work by these people.
Small detail, Lance. Rainey's saddle, when she buckles herself in, the buckles actually it's a dragon head, and she buckles into the dragon's head on the saddle.
Yeah, I saw that. I mean, it's so
cool.
That's the art department again. That'd be the costume lady probably, or one of the others.
So they're probably using the same kind of lessons that you use for riding horses, because it makes sense, isn't it? They're like big green fire-breathing horses that can fly.
Have you ridden a big fire-breathing horse before, Northern?
Depends how much acid I drop.
Well, I had heard there were a few fire breathing.
You figure, remember sometimes these guys fly upside down. So if you're flying upside down, you're trying to hold a saddle. You're going to fly right out of the sea.
Yeah.
Plus, you're handling these really big, heavy animals. Well, beasts, aren't they? I mean, fucking hell.
Yeah, so right there, Lance, like his mouth open. That shot right there, like, man, that detail on him. And even how big his neck is, and it's all drooping because she's the oldest dragon, but the thickest one. And just like seeing her mouth and the tongue, it's just that much detail for a TV show is crazy.
Let's talk about the House of Dragons science of the dragons, because one of the things that's being much discussed on my Facebook timeline at the moment is I didn't know dragons could explode when they fall to the ground. So that happens because first of all, the king's dragon gets its gut ripped open, which is where the black fluid is, which converts into the fuel, which enables it to breathe fire. Then what happens is our good man, Mr. Eyepatch, comes in. He does the Dracarys thing. That dragon, when it's falling to the ground, is actually already on fire, if you watch. So any of that black blood, shall we call it black blood, that was leaking, don't forget it's combustible. So if it comes into contact with flame, it's going to burn. So yeah, when they fell to the ground, I think that's what happened there. Then you have the second dragon that gets its head more or less snapped off. When she falls to the ground on the castle wall, don't forget that castle had arrowmen on the wall, some of whom were firing flaming arrows. Flaming arrows were also being fired around that area. And this dragon has had its neck ripped open, which is also going to leak black blood everywhere, which is also going to fall onto an area where there are already flames. So that's why, again, combustible, you could just think of it as a highly combustible liquid, which will burn if it comes into contact with flame. So in the science of, I mean, it's bollocks science, but in the science of dragons in House of Dragon, I think it's all fairly logical. They set up rules and they followed them. As long as they set up rules and they follow them, I'm all good with it.
On top of two, Lance, when they're fighting him in there, when Aegon's dragon, when he was flying down, what's cool part is like it started basically raining his blood, and that whatever it's at blood, I took it as hot dragon blood was burning some of the soldiers, are screaming.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's how. So it's like super hot already.
Yeah, I mean, I already mentioned how hot some live blood from an animal would be, and now you have whatever 40, 50 foot creature that weighs thousands of pounds, and they can breathe fire. How hot would his blood be?
And the big dragon like stepped on quite a few people as well in the whole course of that battle scene. But yeah, who owned this is a question I wanted to ask everyone on the panel. Who owned a toy castle when they were a kid? Did anyone else own a toy castle? You don't remember, Leroy? Come on, man.
Nope.
May have done. It's been a long time.
Leroy, did you have Cowboys and Indians? Because you write Westerns books. Did you have Cowboys and Indians?
No. You don't want to know what kind of toys I had growing up. I was a kid.
All right. Okay, we'll leave that there then. So, I had a castle, and the only knights figures that you could get were made by a toy company called Britain's, and they were like pre-painted. They looked very good, but they were expensive. So I would buy one of these knights a week, and I think like I had about 7 of them in total. Then somebody brought out some plastic knights, and I managed to get more, but I couldn't afford a castle. So for my birthday, my dad made me one, and it had a drawbridge and everything. So how cool is that? He made it all himself, and painted it and everything. All like, and it was good. It looked good. So my dad was very cool at making things.
This thing isn't Godzilla sized, Lance, but definitely definitely bigger than a T-Rex. I mean, this thing is massive. The fact it's just easily stomping on people and they're just screaming and running. Like I mean, Vagar, these are massive animals.
And it's not doing it intentionally. It's just because it's because it's actually on their side at this point.
And the small things that you see, like the dirt come off because of its claw too.
Yeah, it's good. See, look, Smoke Dreamer knows what I'm talking about. He had a wooden one that his granddad made him. Yeah, the same thing, mate. Mine was wood with a matchstick cannon. So, happy days. Yeah, the visual effects are just, they're unparalleled, really. I mean, what more can we say? They're incredible. All right, well, this bit, I think this is going to be a bit harder, but I want to know this from everybody in the panel and also the people watching. Tell us yours.
Hold to your courage! Hold to your wits!
Yeah. Favorite line and your favorite moment in the show. They can be the same or they can be different. My favorite line is definitely Matt Smith's could you not put a feathered pillow over your grandfather and speed along your inheritance? That's just such a great, and there were quite a few good lines to choose from. So let's do lines of dialogue first. Blue, do you have one?
Oh yeah, surprisingly, when Allison says to her son, she talks about Otto. He says that Otto was a very cunning. I'll try to pull up the line in a second here, but because as she's telling Aegon about his place and her father, the exact line is, Otto Hightower was a cunning statesman, was as cunning a statesman as has ever lived. But thing is, she's right that he was hand of the king for 3 kings, and said that everything that's happening, if Otto was the hand of the king, he didn't want this. Right now, this is a result of Kristen Cole. That this whole battle sequence is Kristen Cole's idea. Also, Aemon.
Yeah.
Otto didn't want this stuff. As we said before in the past, you can hate the guy, but this isn't something Otto wanted. And Aegon's mother, Allison doesn't want this neither. So I just love that scene where she's reminding her son, like, and even she says to her son, if you were only half the king your father was. Like, damn.
So your favorite line is that scene with the king and Queen Alicent.
Yeah, but so just that specific line where it's like, Otto Hightower is cunning as statesman as ever lived.
Leroy, do you have a favorite line of dialogue in this episode?
I'd say my favorite line is when Christian Cole and Allison's brother talk, and Christian Cole asked him, "Are you afraid?" He said, "More than that, I'm rational." I thought that was the best line.
That's a good bit. Northern.
Yeah, obviously, Matt Smith asking him to put the feathered pillow over his dad's face, and he's like, "But I love my granddad." He's like, "Then what will you say?" It's yeah, I know I've mentioned it before.
Yeah, I know what you see to me. That was so good, wasn't it? Because that followed when he said, "So do you speak in your grandfather's name?" No. But what you saw you to me then? Why are you here?
He's very unapologetic on just how ruthless he can be, and he doesn't care. He's like, he's been through enough battles. He's survived them, so he's not going to change who he is.
Favorite moment in this episode for me, because it's quite powerful, I think probably is the moment Princess Rhaenyra sees the life in her dragon's eyes go out, and she kind of accepts her her defeat nobly. Like Leroy said, she goes down like a boss. That for me was brilliantly done. I just loved the look from the dragon. They made it such a personal, kind of intimate moment. It was so well done. This is it here.
That's my favorite scene too.
Yeah, and because she knows she's done basically.
That's what I'm saying. If anyone says she survived, she falls backwards. If she fell normally, but you have a 16-ton creature falling on you as well, plus an explosion.
Yeah.
I
don't think there's any chance of her surviving.
This is my favorite scene too, just because
that's why she
accepted her fate. She went out like a gangster.
Yeah, it's so well done. good visual effects as well. See the tail waggling around there at the
yeah.
back. Blue, your favorite moment?
Well, Lance.
I mean, it can be the same. It can be the same, but if you feel different, say so.
Let me take a think about it because there's a lot. I mean, yeah, this entire battle sequence is so fantastic, Lance. Yeah, I mean, just the whole battle because all the detail. How long it must have took these guys to film this battle sequence? Just pick any section of this battle sequence. It's my favorite scene.
Yeah,
just I could watch the sequence on repeat.
Wow, yeah, it is extremely well done. Smoke Dreamer says Talia Allison's Lady in Waiting was who I was thinking of, was the red woman in Game of Thrones. Yeah. That's Alex Raban. Northern, you got favorite scene?
Obviously the big battle because it's just so bloody epic and it's so well done, and seeing the dragons just clash is just fun to watch, and at the same time you still feel you still feel that danger. You still feel a little worried about the characters when they clash, and it's really Aemond going against his brother that I really enjoy. Just sort of like just seeing him really cross that line now and really just go full forward.
Well, I'm gonna press you a little as the battle sequence is quite long. What's your favorite moment in the battle sequence?
Yeah, Aemond taking out Aegon.
Okay.
Yeah, Aegon really starts to think that Aemon's going to save him, but then he realizes no, he's fucked. Aemon's going to take him out. Right. It's that realization in Aegon's face that just clinches it.
Yeah. Like the saying goes, payback's a bitch.
Yep.
Yeah. Like it.
Yeah, because it does show just how far Aemon's willing to go now. He's going to become ruthless, and he may become king. I've not read the book, so I don't know if it's following it or if it's veering away from it. But yeah, he could be a good war king. I'm guessing
Northern England's Bastard. I'm going to give you a little spoiler. If this show
no spoilers.
Oh, no, don't spoil. Don't spoil.
All right.
No spoilers. No spoilers. Right. We don't want any. We don't want anything for the future.
I would say if I had to pick one moment out of this entire battle sequence, because like I said, it's a long sequence, it's this guy right here, because him and all the soldiers stop, and just that sense of dread where everyone stops, like, and they look up and see Vhagar, and we're like, oh shit, and everyone just pauses, like,
I thought that was pretty tough.
Yeah, I mean, look at his face right there.
Yeah, I like this actor. Well, let's get his name because we didn't specifically mention him by name earlier, and I want to give him a shout out. I've seen him in many things. I've also seen him on stage, I think at the National. Trying to remember what I saw him in. Is he? Is it? Hang on a second. Is it? Oh God! Do you know what? I'll tell you who's one of the lords in this. Stephen Pacey, who used to play Tarrant on Blake 7, is one of the guys on the council. That's nuts. I didn't spot him, and I'm usually pretty good at spotting people. He's not that actor, but that's one of the other characters in it. Just trying.
Yeah.
I know Vincent Regan's in it as well, but you barely notice him.
Plus, like, everyone hearing it, everyone just like universal. Everyone's like this, and just like.
It's Lord Simon Staunton is played by actor Michael Elwyn. He's got 124 credits on IMDb. He's done 15 episodes of Coronation Street, not a show that I've ever watched, but it's very popular over here. 13 episodes of Stella, and appeared in various other TV shows and so on. But he's done a lot of theatre because I have seen him on stage. You can tell he's a classically trained actor. He's got that Shakespearean presence there, and they're always getting actors of that caliber to play the lords, just like they went to the Royal Shakespeare Company to cast all of the crews of the Star Wars ships. All the Imperial officers were all from the Royal Shakespeare Company. That's where George Lucas went to get them, because he wanted them to have that sort of stiff kind of Britishness about them, you know, this kind of very kind of orderly manner. And he thought, yeah, actors who can do Shakespeare is what I want, and that's what he got. That's why they're all really good. Got some other comments here. Cannibal the Dragon, not seen you, sir. Oh, I don't know if it is. It could be a woman. Because the battle on the ground doesn't matter. The air battle is all that matters. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for leaving a comment. Do please subscribe if you haven't done so already. I think the battle scene did a good job. This is Hayley Dubban. Welcome to the channel, Hayley. Did a good job of showing the inexperience of some of the characters. However, when it comes to war and dragon wars, yeah, I mean, like the king hadn't ridden a dragon into combat before, had he? So, Lucky Spade, all hail the Red Queen, love it. It's sad her daughter's dragon ends up ending her and her daughter. Damn, yeah, well, indeed. I can't think of a better dragon scene I've seen over the years. No, these are the best dragons I've ever seen in any fantasy show or film.
Well, I 100% agree. That's why I said the scene with Aegon nuzzling his dragon. I'm like, whoa, that's like, I'd make that my screensaver on my computer, which I'm probably gonna do now.
Yeah. Okay, let's do final thoughts and ratings out of 10. So people in the chat that are watching, and there are 24 of you. Thank you very much for tuning in and spending your time with us this evening or this afternoon if you're from the United States of good old USA. Give your ratings out of 10 in the chat, please. Just put a number from 1 through to 10, 10 being the best. Where does this fall for you so far? On IMDb at the present time, this is the highest rating episode. It's coming in currently at 9.7. That's an incredibly high rating on IMDb. Over 20,000 people have voted for that. Most of them are not AI. So, yeah. So, Blue, where do you place it?
I'll go with a 9. As I said, I don't want to give everything 10s, but I'll give it a 9. And my only criticism would just be that, yes, not much goes on in terms of storyline, in the sense that a character dies and Aegon's injured, but the rest of the characters like Daemon and Rhaenyra, everyone they're moving forward, but not that much in comparison. But of course, the battle sequence is fantastic. Characters are dead, and that's why I'm not giving it a 10, but a very solid high 9 for me.
High 9, yep, very good. Leroy?
10 out of 10. Definitely a 10 out of 10. I mean, I think it's the best episode in the entire second season. So, I mean, I gave the first episode a 10 out of 10.
So far. We're not at the end.
Yeah, so far. Remember, I was reluctant to give the first episode 10 out of 10 because of the kid getting killed, but then I decided to give the first episode 10 out of 10 because I wanted to see how Aegon was going to react, and I wasn't disappointed.
Yeah. Northern.
Yeah, give it a 10 out of 10 because I've barely seen any flaws with this. I think the only flaw is probably Lady Baylor barely gets any lines or screen time like last time, and that's it. But it really ups the stakes. It really does crank out the danger a little bit more, and it really does get you excited for what's going to happen next, and it leaves you with a lot of questions on what's going to happen after the aftermath of this great battle that's just gone on. Yeah,
I'm going to give it a 10 as well. I rarely give out 10s because I asked myself, is there anything I feel this episode was lacking? Is there anything that they did wrong? Or is there anything in this episode that they could have done better? My answer to all three of those questions is no. So on that basis, I have to give it a 10. Because the writing is so good. I mean, the dialogue in this, when you're trying to choose your favorite line in any episode of this season of House of Dragon, you've got 4 or 5 lines to choose from. You don't have that problem with the Acolyte, do you? So
you just had to bring up the Acolyte, did you?
I'm always going to bring up the Acolyte because it's a good comparison.
Lance, the dog paddle across the Atlantic Ocean and find you.
Oh
Two
no,
more.
Leroy's
solid
fallen out of the stream. What's happened? We've lost contact with him. Only kidding. So, yeah, I just look at the quality of the writing. It's, you know, the narrative, the dialogue, the setup, the stakes. You know, this is a show with real stakes. You're tense. What's really good about this show is you care about. It's a bit like The Shield in the sense that, I mean, it's totally different shows, but what they've got in common is that you care about different characters at different times for different reasons. You're never just invested in one person on one side, because I can't honestly say which side I want to win, because there are characters I like and dislike fighting for both causes. You know, the Queen's not always just. The King, who may or may not be dead now, is, you know, he's foolish and he's foolhardy and hasty.
If he wasn't drunk, he wouldn't be foolish or foolhardy.
No,
I have no
problem
with him going into battle flying his dragon. I have a problem with him going into battle drunk while intoxicated.
You shouldn't drink and ride dragons.
Yeah. Amy Fry says, between dragons and dongs, I'll take dragons. I think that may have come from a previous comment in the chat where Smoke Dream says you feel his size. I don't know if that's Drew Gordon says it's a 10 out of 10 for him. Yeah, I mean it's but it's good because you know, even the characters that I find infuriating, I still want to find out what happens to them. I want to find out what their motivations are, because I know that they have some, and I know, for example, with Lord Larys, that it's going to be interesting and complex. It's not just going to be that he's actually a frog toad by night or some nonsense. You know, it's going to be something interesting. The fate of all of these characters has me completely invested, you know. So even the ones that are not this episode, I'm wondering where they are, what they're plotting, what they're doing. It's just so good. I mean, this is television at its absolute finest. When you compare it to other stuff, that, you know, it pales completely. And everybody wrote off this show, and everyone thought it was, after what we got at the end of Game of Thrones. Yeah, everybody thought, yeah. And when I saw the cast line up, I was like, you know what? The people in this cast list are people, they're all actors that can afford to say no when they get sent a script. They're not short of pennies. So, you know, obviously it'd be interesting to see if they do a spin-off show set in Lysini. You know, I definitely watch that, judging from the discussion at the council. Yeah, so predictions for next. We're 2 characters down. One of them definitely, one may live on scarred in some kind of demented state, but let's face it, he's not going to be ruling as king. Someone else will be making the decisions, even if the king survives. Blue, predictions for next week and series going forward?
Aegon's definitely not dead. Like you said, if he's alive, he's probably crippled and he's not going to be present for a while. In terms of dying, boy, I mean, I didn't see Rhaenys dying. So
I did.
It's Game of Thrones. I mean, walking into it, Leroy, like it's Game of Thrones. Like who's gonna die? It's hard to tell. I mean, obviously the people that have dragons are the biggest the problems getting killed. I can't see anybody killing Alicent because like she's at King's Landing.
She's not gonna no, I mean, I think if anything, this show's told us there's always kind of terror outside as well as within. Yeah. But she'll definitely be around until the end of the season. She might die. Yeah. I think she'll be around until the last episode. I think both of those two will be around until the last episode of this season.
Yeah, Daemon, like you said, Lance, I don't see Daemon dying. He's going through a phase right now, but if Daemon does get into a dragon fight, yes, Vhagar is big, but Daemon is so like tactical and ruthless. I don't see Daemon easily being killed. He's just too smart. In terms of dying, Kristen Cole, I think at some point is going to die. I don't know why. I just feel like he is.
Kristen Cole is definitely going to die. They've set that up with when the guy was getting executed, and he said, "Your death won't be long in coming," or words to that effect. Yeah, he's going to die by the end of this season. I would put money on it.
Yeah.
You should
Well,
rename him Dead Meat. Hey, I'm in a
But,
battle against dragons. What could go wrong?
what I'm most curious about next episode is I want to see how Corlys is going to handle his wife just being killed. Because remember, Corlys
Yeah.
and Rainy were fucking tight, man. That
Yeah.
that was real love. Like they had some of the
That's-
argument.
Yeah, that's why we got invested in them, because we had those scenes. Those scenes, that's what good narrative is. That's what good writing is. We got very invested in their romance. Like you said, you could see that they really loved each other, and you cared about those characters because they were both very wise. They're both quite noble. In the scheme of good versus evil, these people have a sort of moral compass. You want them on your side, don't you? I'm gonna really miss the presence of Eve Best in this show, because she's an actress I'm familiar with. I have seen her in other things, but I mean, she's been phenomenal in this. Absolutely incredible. It'd be so good if I could get her to come on.
To you and the panel, you guys, it wasn't a big scene. Remember when and Corlys was talking to Alan, and she's like, "Yeah, I know about it. You shouldn't be punishing him because she didn't know that Alan's the one that saved Corlys." And she's like, "You're punishing him for his lineage. It's not his fault." And she's like, "I know who his father was." It's like hint, and it was just her putting Corlys in check. Like, you're punishing this poor kid for something that's not his fault.
Yeah, it was well done. Indeed. Northern, you got any other predictions about who you think's going to live or die?
Yeah, I think Christian probably will die. I don't know if Aegon might, though. If he hasn't, he's going to be fucked up, and this might really change him. Corlys will probably become a bit more vengeful as well, and he will start probably getting onto Rhaenyra to help him seek revenge.
I think Lord Corlys is going to die by the end of this season. He'll go out in some kind of blaze of glory. I think there'll be a big sea battle at some point.
I think so too.
Yeah, which may or may not have dragons in it, and because we do know that boats burn rather well. But I think he's going to go out this season as well, almost certainly. God, yeah, I just think Eve Best, man, she's so good in this, so good, and yeah, such a huge presence on screen. Definitely gonna.
I said last week she was my favorite actor in last week's episode.
Yeah, I remember you saying. Yeah, what more can we say? It's we kind of had a sense that this episode was going to bring a lot of things together, and now, of course, we're waiting with bated breath to see what happens. Quite an interesting cliffhanger. What is the fate of the king? I think he's going to be sort of really badly burned by the black fuel. And crippled to some degree. Drew Gordon has a theory about this. There you go. Aegon will get a wheelchair, and then Bran the Broken will pop up in a weird tree to tell him that it's a cool wheelchair, and then Aegon will go mad. I'm not sure that's going to happen. Yeah, you're right. She was the sole voice of restraint on the War Council. She was the wisest advisor for that side. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's going to be exciting either way. Yeah. So Blue, you want to tell us what else you got coming up? I think you're on that cool Outcast Creative channel again soon, aren't you?
Yeah, well, you made me talking about 2 more episodes of that great show, The Acolyte, everybody's favorite.
Where do you live, blue collar?
New York.
Oh, good. So
tell him he's going to hunt you down. Run.
The thing is, with me, I'm never mad about it. I'm having a great time talking about it. It's so much fun.
Your idea of fun and my idea of fun are 2 very different things. But yeah, I suppose we're talking about that on Wednesday, aren't we? By the way,
Space Whips.
Darth, oh my God, what's his name? Darth, what's his name, was going to come on tonight as well, but unfortunately, personal circumstances prevented him from doing so. But
I hope as well.
sure he may well come on. He may well come on another time. So Northern, what you got coming up?
Well, Losers launched tomorrow for Independence Day. Nielsen ratings review. I have no idea what I want to review. I might do Cans of Cardenas because it was definitely a movie. Definitely a movie. And Friday, I've got Bastards Breakdowns where I discuss the very first and still the best Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, I heard you were doing that. Haven't you got Inside Man coming on for that?
Yeah, he wants to come on for that. Toxic is on for that. And my regulars, Fandad Menace and Critical. So it should be a good little stream.
Yeah, mate. I'll if I'm around, I'll pop on. I love that film.
I'll send you the link.
Yeah, I took my dad to see it, and oh man, it was just I can remember us watching it quite vividly, which is unusual because I can't remember a lot. But I always everything connected to films I can always remember. I guess that's one of the beauties of a film that's really good, is you always remember it for the right reasons. So
what's scary is I'm a year older than John Ashton was when he did that film, and he looks older than me.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't look that much older than in the latest movie than he did when he did the first one, because he already looks pretty old. It's one of those actors that's kind of always looked a certain age. The new Beverly Hills Cop movie, man, it was all right. It could have been a lot better, though.
I haven't seen it yet. What it was, though, but I can see why it was on Netflix. I wouldn't have. It doesn't seem like the movie you'd fork 20 quid out to see at the cinema.
I haven't seen it yet, and I got Netflix.
It's not as bad as I thought it would be. It's actually better. Eddie Murphy just plays the role like he never left it. He's still that sort of like cocky gobshite that you still kind of want to hang out with a little bit.
Yeah, I mean it was fun. Don't get me wrong. It was fun seeing all those characters again. But I just the
nostalgia bit was way too thick on it, though. They laid it on way too thick. They could have
every song pretty much from the original soundtrack was in this movie, you know.
Yeah, and Rosewood going, "Police, shoot, please, police, don't move," and they're firing at him. It's just not as funny as it was in the first one. It just felt
that bit wasn't funny at all, man. Because it was just like he wouldn't have done it again, would he? When he was the naive young cop.
Yeah, because he evolved a little bit more in the second one. He became a little bit more crazier, packing a dirty Harry gun, everything. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I saw that. I actually, because Netflix have got them all now. They've got all of the Beverly Hills Cop movies. So when I was vegging on Sunday after the all-day rave that I attended on Saturday, I basically watched them all. And the second one is better than I remembered it, because I didn't like the second one when I saw it at the cinema. I think it's probably better than I remember it because so much other stuff that we're seeing lately is pants. So older films that were average seem better now.
It's got a lackluster plot, but it's the chemistry between Eddie Murphy, Judge Reinhold, and John Ashton that make it work. Though just watching these three work together makes it fun.
It's got I mean, it's really well shot. It's Tony Scott, isn't it, the director of the second one?
Yeah, he really loves those summer shots, doesn't he? Those neon orange shots that really make the screen pop.
Yeah. That it's got that very sun-drenched LA style, you know.
I think Michael Bay might have ripped off Tony Scott a little bit, because I can definitely see the way he shoots the movies. It looks very similar to Tony Scott.
Well, I'm going to talk about what we got coming up before we lose everybody else who's already got bored of us talking about Beverly Hills Cop. We dropped from 20 to 12 people watching. So coming up next, House of Dragon, which we've just done, of course. Then I have the Nielsen ratings on Tuesday, my weekly chat show where we talk about different shows and things that we've watched. A couple of new guests coming on that tomorrow. Oh, I've got a knock at the door. I've got to quickly jump and let someone in. Leroy, tell us about your books while I'm doing that.
Well, soon as I got on, I just completed the third book in my Frontier series. It's entitled Soaring Eagle Woman. So as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to submit it to my publisher. So be on the lookout for it. The first 2 books in my series, Face of the Sun and The Great Divide, are in the top 20 on Amazon and Kindle. So both my books are available. In fact, all my books are available in Kindle and paperback. So feel free to check them out. And then I'm going to take a nice deserved break. When I come back from Bahamas, I'm going to start on the second book in my new series, Jonah Chamberlain, Mountain Man. So it's going to be, by the end of this year, I should have 5 books published already, total.
5 books this year. Jesus.
I already got 3 published, and I'm just about to submit my 4th one.
Okay, thank you for that, Leroy. I just had to let
You're
my
welcome.
casting director, Sharon Sorrentino, into the house because she's staying here this evening. So, Fab. Well, I think that's about everything. I just want to talk about the guests I've got coming on. I'm off camera at the moment, so you can peer. Do you want me to go on camera so you can say hello? Okay, hang on. We're going on camera. Here's Sharon.
Hello.
Oh,
This is
she's
Sharon.
cute.
She's cute. Yeah, well,
Bless you.
well, hey. So, yeah, anyway, she's gone to make a cup of tea. So I've got 3 industry interviews coming up this weekend. This month. I have mentioned them all before, but we'll get into them again. We have actress Milorna Jackson coming on the channel. Can't wait to speak to her. She is absolutely super talented. One of the best actresses of her generation, I would argue. And I firmly believe I'm going to see her get an Oscar or a BAFTA in her lifetime. Likewise, this uber talented Nikki Marshall is also coming on the channel. She's an actress that's been in TV shows like The Shield, but she's also recently done her directing debut, a movie called The Summer of Violence. Then I also have epic film producer Charles Band, who has produced 437 movies, no less, directed 89, written 65. Anything that was a low-budget fantasy sci-fi film that came out between 1981 and sort of 1992 was probably at the hands of Charles Band. Parasite being one of his first films, which was the first film that actress Demi Moore starred in, no less. He did the Trancers movies, Ghoulies, whole load of other things. So all of those interviews are in July. Charles Band is on the 17th of July coming up. I think Milorna Jackson is the same week. She's on the 15th, I believe. And I'm just waiting for Miss Marshall to lock down a date. We were going to do it this week, but I think it's going to be the week commencing the 22nd. So some amazing guests coming on the channel. If you're new to the channel and you haven't checked out the industry interviews, check that section out. It's really, really interesting. I'm still trying to get Sharon to come on and do one, actually. She's at my house, but I still haven't managed to get her to do an interview. But we'll pin her down at some point. Not literally, Leroy. Okay. So with that said, just remains for me to thank my panel of guests. Send our best wishes to Darth Plato, who was going to be with us as well, but had a personal emergency, so couldn't make it. Thanks to Blue Collar, Northern English Bastard, and of course, author Leroy Peters. It just remains for me to say, oh my God, what's going to happen next?